Ever since I began shooting film, it's become progressively harder to find a stock to stick with. Portrait 800 has been one of my favorite contemporary stocks recently, due to its high sensitivity, giving me the ability to shoot in many lighting scenarios, not to mention it has wonderful color reproduction. So I began to look for another high-speed, color-negative stock, which is what led me to Superia 1600. I have shot this film once before, a few months ago when I was in LA. The film got x-rayed, wiping most of the roll out. However, a few shots did survive, but it really wasn't enough for me to form an opinion. So I figure, why not try this film out again and see how it looks. We started by shooting some images in daylight. Crazy how the light changes so fast. I don't really know a good way about shooting this. We later met up with our friend Jordan to shoot some photos at night, to really see how much light the film can gather. The next day, I processed the film at the lab and brought it home to scan. While scanning the film, I left the images alone for the most part. I only did minor corrections as well as retouching out as much dust as possible. Alright, well, the first thing I want to address about this film is some of the daylight images seem quite a bit hazy, and that's really not due to the film. The lens I was using seemed to be a little bit fogged, and I didn't really notice this until afterwards. So unfortunately, it did affect the contrast a little bit, but looking at the nighttime images where I switched lenses after realizing that there is quite a bit of contrast, it's really hard to decipher because inherently the nighttime images are going to have more contrast because the scene is more contrasty. But even when I was shooting with a lot of light in less contrasty scenarios with a different lens, you could tell that there was quite a bit of contrast. It wasn't too much, it was just about the perfect amount. Usually higher speed films tend to have a lot more contrast. Shooting this film was a lot of fun. Having the versatility of 1600, I really didn't have to worry about what I was going to be shooting. I could really just go out and take pictures, not having to worry about if I had a tripod or not. I was able to get away with shooting at the 60th at night, and that's really something that I don't really get to do often with film. And surprisingly enough, for a 1600 speed film, it really wasn't too grainy. I was expecting to be ridiculously grainy, but even in the shadows, it's not too much grain. If you overexpose the film by about a stop, it typically has a lot less grain in the image. Like the image of the tree in the sunlight, I overexposed it a little bit, and it was able to maintain highlight detail as well as have virtually, I wouldn't say no grain because it's a 1600 speed film, but it looks like it could be like a 400 speed film. Another thing I was really impressed with is the film's overall dynamic range. I really felt that for a 1600 speed film, there was quite a bit of detail in both the highlights and shadows, even shooting at nighttime where the scene was very contrasty. I think my least favorite thing about this film would be its overall color reproduction. It was a little bit too saturated for my liking. It wasn't the most saturated film I've ever shot, but it definitely was up there. And also, in terms of the color balance, it seemed to lean quite a bit more magenta. If you look at any images with skin tone, the skin starts to go red or more magenta, and it's just overall not a really appealing look. It's easily corrected, but it's just another step in your process that you have to correct for. I would definitely recommend this film if you're going to be out shooting. It'd probably be a great option for street photography or just walking around like we were doing when we were shooting these images. Obviously, it's not going to be ideal for landscape photography or anything like that because it has a very distinct look and it's a very soft and dreamy film. So if you're doing anything that you really want a clean, sharp image, obviously don't use this film. The only other major downside to this film is just how much it cost. You know, it's fairly expensive for a roll of 36 exposure color negative film. $10 on B&H's website, but if you go to like a local camera store, when I bought that roll in California, it was like $15, which is pretty outrageous. So, you know, if it's your first roll of film or you haven't shot film in a while, I definitely wouldn't start with this film. It's a very specific type of film, very unique type of film that you wouldn't really want to mess up for $10 a roll or however much you have to pay for it, plus processing. So yeah, I'll definitely be shooting this film again. It was a lot of fun to shoot, especially having that ability to shoot handheld at night was awesome. If there are any other films you think I should try, just feel free to comment below and I'll definitely try my best to make a video about it. I think I'm going to make a video about high-speed black and white films next. Another film that's becoming more and more popular. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about this film, so thanks for watching.